Hi everyone, I'm going to go through what I went over at the open house really quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to text or call or message. Okay, so the agenda was we were going to go over safety procedures, COVID screening and testing, entry and exit, supplies, the schedule, and then at the end, I gave a little tour of the classroom, and then there was time for questions throughout. So safety procedures for in-person learning, all students are required to wear face masks and practice social distancing by staying 6 feet apart. Our desks are 6 feet apart. I will be 6 feet away. We also have shields on all of the desks. There are designated bathroom times throughout the day, which you'll see in the schedule. Students are not allowed to go to the bathroom outside of those times unless they have a medical reason where they would need to use the bathroom outside of those times. So make sure that your scholar goes to the bathroom before they leave their house, and they will not be able to leave the classroom on their own. There's also daily classroom cleaning. We're going to wipe our desks off at the end of every single day, and I will wipe off all the surfaces at the end of every day. On Wednesdays, we will have a weekly deep cleaning of the entire building. So that's why we're going to continue with small group Wednesdays being virtual, because on those days, the whole school is going to be deep cleaned. And then the last safety procedure is COVID screening and testing. So every morning, all students and staff are going to get their temp read and also answer questions pertaining to COVID symptoms. If they have any of those symptoms, they're going to go to the health suite and wait for an adult. And so if they are not able to get a COVID test, then you would have to come pick up your scholar if they have COVID, symptoms of COVID, like shortness of breath, cough, fatigue, all of those things. But if they have consent to get a test for COVID, they will wait in the health suite until someone can come by and give them a COVID test. That will be a van that will drive to Belmont and will test them at Belmont. You will be notified regardless of if they're going to be getting a test or not. But you can only, or scholars can only be tested with your consent. So on Monday, I'm going to give out testing consent forms that have to be signed. They cannot be tested without your consent, and they cannot be let in the classroom if they have symptoms of COVID, even if they don't have it. So that's why it's important to let us know if you're okay with them getting tested. In addition to screening every morning, we're going to do weekly COVID testing. And so that is a nasal swab. It is a little uncomfortable, but it's not the worst COVID test I've had. I've had the one that goes all the way up the nose, and that one kind of hurts. But again, they have to have the consent form to do that. And that will be weekly on Thursdays. I will be getting tested as well as all the other staff members in the building. And we're going to be tested in a pool, which is about 15 to 20 students and adults. So if there is a positive COVID test in that pool, we will all be tested again. And then from that, Belmont will figure out exactly who has COVID. And based on who has it, that student's pod would quarantine. So a pod is a classroom of students and any adult who comes into interaction with that classroom of students. And then a pool is a larger group. So for example, my pod is me, the students who are in my classroom, and our lunch monitor. But we are in a pool with the other fourth grade class. So if somebody tested positive for COVID in our pool, we would retest again and find out who has it. If the person who has tested positive is in the other fourth grade classroom, meaning they're in a different pod, that fourth grade classroom would quarantine, but we wouldn't have to because we don't come into interaction with that pod. So that will happen every Thursday. And again, if we have a positive, the pod will quarantine until we can come back. Guardian consent forms will go out Monday. So for entry and exit, 4th and 5th graders will enter through the front door. If you have younger students, your teacher should tell you where your younger students enter, because it's not going to be the same for everyone. There are gold stars up to the classroom, so when they walk in, they'll do their temp screening and their health screening, and then they'll follow the gold stars to their classroom. On Monday, March 15th, guardians will be allowed to enter the building, but after March 15th, no guardian will be allowed in the building at any time for any reason. So if you need to come to Belmont to pick up your student, you would have to wait outside. At the end of the day, students are going to be picked up at the front door of the building, just like where they entered. Now, if they have younger siblings, I know that in the past they've been able to go to their classroom and pick them up before leaving the building. That will not happen this year. Everyone will exit through their assigned door. So let's say you have a student and then a younger student. Your fourth grade student would still exit through the front door, and then they could walk around to the other door where the younger student comes out of. They would not be able to go back into the building. They would just walk over to the other door, stand there, and wait for them. So at the end of the day, they will not be allowed to go anywhere else in the school building. So some supplies, all students are going to have a pencil box, a water bottle, pencils, markers, various art supplies, and then they will have a laundry basket to store all of their supplies. So we won't be using lockers this year. So that I'll have a laundry basket next to their desk. That's where everything that they bring to school is going to go. And then the pencil box with all of the supplies in it, that stays at school. The water bottle, they can take home and clean it and then bring it back full of water the next day, or they can keep it at home. There will also be extra masks. The extra masks will not be in their pencil box. I will have them. If a student needs an extra mask, they can ask me and I'll give it to them. They will also have an individual hand sanitizer. Now, I'm waiting for it to get delivered. It might not get delivered before Monday. If that's the case, I'll get like individual hand wipes, but they will have individual hand sanitizers. Besides the supplies that they'll already have at school, they really need their device and their charger. I'm going to have surge protectors throughout the room for them to charge their device. They need a backpack, although I do have extras. And then this is optional. They can bring their lunch. Breakfast and lunch is provided every day, but if they want their own lunch, they can bring that. And then extra personal supplies. This is not required. They will have all the supplies that they need. But if you want them to have their own supplies, that's fine. The only thing to note is that if they're bringing their own supplies, like if they're going to bring their own pencil box and their own markers, they have to take them home every day. So they can't bring them and leave them inside of their desk. They have to bring them, keep them in the laundry basket throughout the day, and then at the end of the day, take them home. Here's an overview of the schedule. You can pause here if you want to read through it, but just to draw your attention to our 2 bathroom breaks, we have one at 11:30 and then one at 12:45. I know that that's really close together, but that's where I could fit it in the schedule. These are their restroom breaks. Like I said before, they cannot use the bathroom outside of these times. So they definitely need to use the bathroom when they get, or before they get to school. Something that we don't do now, but we are going to start doing is some socially distanced outdoor time. This is not necessarily recess, because this is not a time for them to run around and, do whatever they want. We will be going outside and we will be playing various games, but they're games that we can play while staying socially distanced. It's also just a good idea for us to get fresh air throughout the day. So this is some time for us to do this. And then dismissals at 2:30. So I already went through all of this, but students need to be in their classroom by 9 a.m. Past 9 a.m. they're late. And the teachers who do the health screening in the morning, they have their own classrooms to get to. So students need to be in the building by 9 a.m. Okay, so the last thing, I went over what the classroom looked like, but it is 6 feet apart. Students have space to stretch, and there's tape on the floor that marks their personal space. They have their laundry basket and then surge protectors. So that's the end of the what I went over for open house. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me or text. If you need any clarification about any type of COVID testing or COVID screening, or anything else about safety, feel free to call or text me. Thank you.